Ladies and gentlemen, tonight while the defense minister engages with his Chinese counterpart in Moscow, the situation at the line of actual control is being keenly monitored by the Modi government. So for the first time after the recent standoff, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, in an exclusive interview which is going to be played on Saturday 9 p.m. on The Nation Wants to Know, sent Beijing a strong message. Before playing out excerpts of the interview, here's the latest on the India-China standoff.
Defense Minister Rajnath Singh is holding high-level meetings in Moscow. This visual is the biggest proof of how India's might is making China very, very nervous. Look at the way the Chinese general and defense minister is feeling left out. The SCO summit in Russia comes in the backdrop of a tense situation at the line of actual control. China even went to the extent of pleading for talks. Meanwhile, at the LAC, Indian Army Chief is taking stock of operational preparedness.
The situation along the LAC is slightly tense. Keeping in view of the situation, we had undertaken some precautionary deployments for our own safety and security.
And our forces are ready to tackle any aggression posed by the Chinese.
भारतीय सेना ने चीनी सेना को न सिर्फ पीछे खदेड़ दिया, बल्कि पैंगोंग झील के दक्षिणी इलाके में जो महत्वपूर्ण चोटियां हैं, जिसमें कि हेलमेट टॉप शामिल है, ब्लैक टॉप शामिल है, वहां पर अपनी पकड़ मजबूत कर ली है.
Tonight, as India flexes its diplomatic and military might, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has drawn the line for adversaries. Here are excerpts from his exclusive interview to Arnab Goswami.
What is going on with China? Mr. Jaishankar, apparently a few days back, 29-30 at night, we got a strategic advantage. The Chinese tried to come in. We beat them back. It's been reported with special troops. They've been pushed back and we've regained a part, when they tried to change the status quo in the south bank of the Pangong Lake. Message seemed to be that there will be no hands-tied approach. I have two very specific questions from you. Don't think I'm headline hunting, but everyone's asking this question. You must give me a sense of it. One.
Okay.
No, I've not speculated. As you know, on our network, we didn't speculate. We reported the facts. Okay. We didn't hype it.
Fair enough. I mean,
but my question is that everyone's going.
I don't want anybody to say Arnab pulled his punches. Okay.
Now, I can't pull my punches with you on this, and I won't. I am an admirer, but I have a responsibility to let my viewers know. I have two questions, drawing room conversation. One,
sure.
Did we beat them back on 29-30th? And did we, as they say, teach them a lesson that they can't take these chances without being beaten back if they try to push us? One. Two, do you visualize a bigger confrontation? Not whether we are ready. I'm not asking you whether we are ready. My question is, the Chinese have tried to open up multiple fronts. Do you see them increasing the level of the confrontation at any visible point of time in the future?
Well, let me answer the first question. And to answer the first question, I've got to walk you back a little bit. Okay? What we've had from you could say end April, early May, is a large massing of Chinese troops along the LAC, which is not in accordance with agreements we have with them dating back to 1993, which says that both sides will keep minimum forces in the border areas. Now, typically, in the past, whenever there have been, situations in the border, there's been a problem at a particular point, and then both sides build up around that point. This one was different because they came in very large numbers across a much broader front. Now, and then we've had a number of face-offs, one of which, unfortunately, turned extremely violent. I mean, it turned deadly. And people got killed on both sides. Now, the point was, at various stages, what these developments from early May suggested was attempts by them to unilaterally seek to alter the status quo. So what happened last week was that there were movements on their side which suggested exactly that in the South Bank. So what, since this has been going on for some time, and obviously our forces were there in reasonable numbers, I think as a precautionary move, we responded to ensure that positions of strategic significance were not occupied by them. So that's essentially what happened. Now I realize, look, I put it in a much more clinical fashion because that's the business I am in. For me, this is one more development of a very difficult situation. In my view, a very, something which shouldn't have happened over this summer. But newspapers, media will put it very differently. Somebody will play up, special forces. So, look, this kind of thing is not, I understand the need for good stories. That's fine. After all, you will have to, not you meaning you personally, but the media has to make life much more interesting. But I put it to you in a very sober way that through careful surveillance, monitoring, and taking the precautions, we ensured that our security interests were not compromised out there. Now, my view is, okay, that's done, but that hasn't solved anything by itself. At the end of the day, India and China have to talk. Now, we can talk at the ground level, through local commanders, at higher commanders, at diplomatic level, maybe political level. But this eventually, if we intend to settle it between us, we need to have that engagement and find a settlement. And to my mind, the principles of that settlement are very, very clear, which is that whatever has been agreed to must be honored, must be observed. And the second is, neither side should really seek to change the status quo unilaterally. Those are basic principles on which there can be no compromise.
No, I completely understand. Last week you said the situation in the Galwan Valley was the most serious after 1962. In your book, you have written, before the clashes, you said India must respond unemotionally but effectively. My question is, obviously, the opposition's going for you and they're saying, listen, all these talks are meaning nothing. What is Mr. Jaishankar doing? What is Mr. Modi doing? The Chinese are still trying to, it shows the fact that these incidents happen shows that the talks, whatever level, have been ineffective, and that the danger of the Chinese threat is still very severe. So my question to you, you didn't answer my second part. Do you foresee a flashpoint situation in the future? Had we not known about it, so why would they try to alter the status quo on the southern bank of the Pangong Tso Lake? Why would they do it, and do you see a flashpoint in the future?
The opposition, or some people in the opposition, will say things. After all, they are in the opposition. So now, I would hope that they would take a more national and a more sober, responsible view of what, to my mind, what is happening in the borders is not just an issue of, it is not an issue of politics, or I would say even only of the government. It's a national issue. Everybody's security is at stake. So my point is, look, I am in politics, so don't get me wrong. I'm understanding or beginning to understand politics. I get that. So, but somewhere the desire to score points must be tempered by a larger responsibility at a time of a national challenge. That's my point. And it's not only for the political side. I would say that for the entire argumentative society,
No, but does that challenge persist? Are the Chinese still challenging us?
and the
Are they
second
looking
point-
to create a flashpoint? Are the Chinese looking to create a flashpoint?
No, okay. Arnab, so look, on the second point, I think it's important for both India and China to realize, and this is actually the case I make in my book, that if we are able to reach accommodation, call it accommodation, equilibrium, modus vivendi, whatever it is, I mean, pick your word. You know, I'm not saying that our interests are going to harmonize on every issue, on even necessarily on all major issues. But I would still say there is a very strong case for an ability to coexist without the kind of situation that we are seeing now. Because if we don't do that, you know, I think it's going to hurt both countries. I mean, you can't talk of an Asian century with India and China completely at odds with each other. The Asian century will not happen. So the point, therefore, I am making is, you know, common sense, strategic sense. You can add to that, I don't know, neighborly goodwill, whatever you like. There are very, very powerful reasons why we need to get along with each other. And I'm not putting a very high bar on what that getting along with each other means. But, you know, I don't think what we have seen through this year has helped China. So, therefore, my focus has been, I mean, this is not in the book, it's because, you know, the book was finished before events took this turn. My plea in the book is for both sides to take a long view, but my statement since then, particularly around the border situation, has been that, look, you know, don't seek to alter the status quo, observe the agreement, don't think that this will not affect the rest of the relationship. It will. I mean, if Indian soldiers get killed in Galwan, it cannot be that the rest of India will be impervious to that. I mean, you cannot have that assumption. So this is really, you know, the point which I wish that the Chinese side will fully understand and appreciate.
With Dr. Jaishankar, you have recognized the 2016 American presidential elections in this book, page 21, as a turning point in global affairs, a black swan event. Now, simple question here is, what if there is another black swan event which was not seen some time back? You see, we have attached ourselves very closely to Donald Trump. The Prime Minister was there, he addressed a rally, but we are so close to the Trump administration, it is believed. Trump came here, he was feted around, all that happened, and then COVID happened, and now I find that the Trump is way back in the ratings. Simple question is this, that, and you have the Chinese belligerents at your doorstep, and you very well know that Kamala Harris, her views on Kashmir were completely pro-Pakistan. What if Trump loses? Will we get shattered? Will it impact all our play, because our play has been assuming that Trump will stay?
Look, Arnab, I disagree with almost everything you said in that question. And I'll tell you why. I mean, first of all, yes, we have got along very well with Trump. I mean, that's quite obvious, with the Trump and his administration. And frankly, there's nothing we need to be defensive about. I mean, it is in India's interest that we make get the best out of any world situation, and the world situation, a lot of it revolves around, the American presidency. So, as a Indian foreign minister, or I would say any nationalistic, any sensible Indian for that matter, would actually say, okay, this is the administration of the day, the president. Let me see how our interests are best advanced. Now, your point about are we getting very close to one side or the other? I mean, please bear in mind, President Obama came to India as the first American presence at a Republic Day. Okay. So and if I were to go back, earlier, you've seen actually the India-US relations in many ways have very, very strong structural drivers, which is why even as governments, are in transition at both ends, actually the relationships has kept growing. So I don't accept that, the manner in which you have sort of portrayed the situation. I mean, I genuinely believe, and I say this out of experience. I mean, we deal with both parties. We deal. I mean, obviously, whatever is the administration is the administration. But in America, there is separation of power. There is a Congress. The Congress often, in fact, right now, the House is controlled by the Democrats. So someone like Nancy Pelosi, for example, Speaker Pelosi, Speaker Pelosi has attended Prime Minister's community meetings in the United States as well. She came for the San Jose one. The Prime Minister has addressed the American Congress, which was a bipartisan invitation. So I think some of this, look, I also want you to be sort of think of it this way. There is politics in both countries. Okay? There is policy, obviously, in both countries. Very often, politics and policy run into each other. And what people do is because the political edge is much sharper, they tend to take you in a certain direction and suggest to you, your options are less, you made a mistake, you're over-invested there, you're under-invested there. I mean, I see a lot of this, frankly, as politics. I have every confidence in the strength of this relationship and in the fact that we have both bipartisan and non-partisan support for it.